मेन बात यह है कि गुड्डू मुस्लिम
नमस्ते, स्वागत है आपका इंडिया दिस वीक के नए एपिसोड में और मैं हूं आपकी होस्ट आमना अंसारी।
Hi, this is Khalid Baig and welcome to yet another episode of India This Week by Amana and Khalid.
तो रिसेंटली जैसे हमने देखा लाइव टेलीकास्ट भी हुआ था, अतीक अहमद और उसके भाई अशरफ की कुछ लोगों ने आके गोली मार के हत्या कर दी और इसके बाद काफी सोशल मीडिया पे हमने तरह तरह के रिएक्शन देखे। तो आज हम उसी रिएक्शन पे कुछ बातचीत करने वाले हैं और हम आपको एक के बाद एक वो रिएक्शन बताएंगे और उस पे खालिद का जो है एक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू लेंगे। तो खालिद हम स्टार्ट करते हैं। सबसे पहला जो मैं आपको रिएक्शन दिखाना चाहती हूँ वो है सबा नकवी जी का और आप स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं। तो सबा नकवी ने कहा है कि मोस्ट ऑफ अस हैव नेवर सीन व्हाट वी हैव सीन टुडे, द विजुअल इन फ्रंट ऑफ लाइव कैमरास। इज दिस इंडिया where Gandhi led a non-violent protest? Same country where some politicians are justifying what has happened. Is this where industry will go, where our children will be raised? तो खालिद आपने काफी विटी रिप्लाई भी किया है इसका, मैं वो नहीं पढ़ना चाहती हूँ, मैं चाहती हूँ कि आप खुद अब इसका जवाब दें।
Yeah, I mean, even the more dreaded gangsters, criminal mafia heads, Bahubali, who put terror in the heart of so many and snuffed out so many innocent lives, even they are not safe in this India. Is this the India Gandhi dreamt of? I mean, I really wonder, this is not the India Gandhi dreamt of, Sabha. I don't share your pain, but I enjoy your misery. It's unfortunate, Amna. I mean, Muslim intellectuals and influencers are supposed to tell their constituency, are supposed to tell the lesser privileged that mafia like him, criminals like him, gangsters like him are so detrimental to the community, to the faith, to the country. And here she is playing this very, very evil game, making it see and getting Gandhi into it. I mean, look at the twisted mentality, more like having air in a brain, airhead, that what kind of a analogy is this, right? And this is just to humanize this man. This is just to remove everything as if, UP was this Scandinavian country, and as if, Atiq Ahmad was some, rags to riches story of hard work and perseverance and, all that. And as if there were no gang wars, as if there still aren't gangs operating there. And yes, of course, it's a failure of law and order, but that is being removed completely. And India is getting interpolated by this one incident, and this evil twisted way. So these are our Muslim intellectuals and influencers who've only led the common Muslim and the vulnerable poor Muslim who looks up to them to form their opinions down the drain, and that's where they want to keep them. वो आरिफ मोहम्मद खान साहब ने कहा था ना कि उनको कहा था किसी ने कि इनको गटर में रहना है तो रहने दो, लेकिन जो उनको गटर में रखना भी चाहते हैं are people privileged like Naqvi who have transgenerational privilege or out of power hai is waqt. That's the only thing they understand. So shame on you, Sabha.
Very brilliantly put, Khalid, and I do, matlab, that's rarely happen that I agree 100%. So I do agree with you 100%, and I not only agree, इतने अच्छे से किसी और ने इस बात को रखी भी नहीं होती, the way you have explained. तो जो दूसरा मैं आपको पढ़ने जा रही हूँ जो ट्वीट है वो है द फेमस ओवैसी साहब, जो हर मुस्लिम्स के, भले ही वो यूपी के मुस्लिम्स की एक भी वोट ना जीत पाते हो और हैदराबाद से आगे ना बढ़ पाए हो अपने स्टेट से, बट उन्हें लगता है कि हिंदुस्तान के जितने भी मुस्लिम हैं उनके सिर्फ और सिर्फ जो लीडर हैं वो ओवैसी साहब खुद हैं, उनको ऐसा लगता है। और ये वही ओवैसी साहब हैं जिनके भाई ने इस तरह के भी स्टेटमेंट दिए थे कि 15 मिनट पुलिस को तो हटा के देखो, तो वो वहां पे तो बिल्कुल चुप्पी साध लेते हैं। और उनका ट्वीट मैं पढ़ना चाहूंगी। Atiq is the second Muslim ex-MP who was murdered with the impunity Ehsan Jafri was ruthlessly hacked to death by mob in Gujarat in 2002, and today it's Atiq, shot and killed in police custody.
What Owaisi Saab didn't tell in that tweet, so let me tell that to Owaisi Saab and his vote bank. Atiq Ahmad in 1979, before even me and Amna were born, was accused of murder. Reports said he was the first person who was booked under the Gangster Act in Uttar Pradesh. By 89, he was already a powerful gangster. He started his political journey and he won the Allahabad West seat as an independent candidate. After that, he won a lot of elections, 89, 91, 93. He started his Apna Dal. He won from the ticket of Samajwadi Party, which should tell you why when he became member of parliament, why the Samajwadi Party and Mr. Akhilesh Yadav has so much love for him, right? There are only 160 criminal cases against Atiq Ahmad. And it's not just murders, it is kidnapping, it's illegal mining, it's abductions, it's threats, it's rioting, it's gundagiri, right? And the hard-working man that he was, he created an empire of 11,000 crores, right? And all he did was victims were across the religion, Muslims, Hindus, but he wins a lot of votes. So secular Samajwadi Party gave him, tickets and he won on this. Even though he was the most dreaded gangster and he must have ruined so many people across communities, that's not what Owaisi told you. Because surprise, surprise, when he was in jail, the Masiah of Muslims, the self-appointed Masiah of Muslims, Mr. Owaisi gave a ticket to his wife to contest from the same Allahabad West, Shaista Parveen. That is why Mr. Owaisi is concerned. And when Mr. Owaisi was told that why have you fielded such a dreaded gangster? So Mr. Owaisi said, what about BJP? Even they, field tainted candidates. Reminds me of this dialogue in Diwar where Amitabh Bachchan, takes up mafia and indulges in the worst of crimes. His honest brother comes to him and says, you're taking up crime, you surrender yourself. Amitabh Bachchan rattles off and says, what about the guy who did this with my mom? What about the guy who did? And then he says, दूसरों के पाप गिनाने से तुम्हारे अपने पाप कम नहीं हो जाते. Mr. Owaisi wants power. He doesn't give a damn that if he's supporting guys like Atiq, because he was even wanting to give tickets to 4 to 5 members of his family, right? This is power politics, and the worst kind of it. Apparently, Mr. Owaisi is oppressed, and so was Atiq Ahmad. And the worst analogy, you're comparing him with Ehsan Jafri, who was butchered by a mob, and you're comparing a gangster who has butchered many Ehsan Jafris. You're shaming the very thing what happened with Ehsan Jafri. And exactly. This is power politics at its worst.
Exactly. So after this, we will go to the famous lady who writes for the Washington Post, who create a narrative for India on international platform. And as we would have expected कि कोई ना कोई तो आएगा जहाँ पे अतीक अहमद को एक तरह से एक विक्टिम बना दिया जाएगा स्टेट का, बट ये तो कुछ और भी आगे तक लेके गई है अपने ट्वीट को. So I'm going to read her tweet. There are those celebrating without any pretense, and then there are those playing both sides, almost justifying that it was a gangster politician who was murdered. So what if he was murdered in the presence of media, police, and the shooter screamed Jai Shri Ram before shooting? So basically she is saying कि हाँ होगा गैंगस्टर पॉलिटिशियन, उससे क्या फर्क पड़ता है? फर्क ये पड़ता है कि मतलब पुलिस के कस्टडी में हो गया और जो शूटर था वो जय श्री राम कर रहा था, तो ये ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है. So what would you say?
See, Rana is a pimp of anti-national forces. Pimps have more integrity than her. They don't sell the nation. And she is clearly misusing her privileged position, where she has an affluent privileged position in Mumbai, studied from some of the best schools, and worked for Tehelka, and now writes for all these Washington Post and all that, and whatever else. Instead of telling the youngsters that, never go the path of Atiq Ahmad, she's doubling down and saying, you'll have to choose a side. whether it's of the gangster, big deal. It's a gangster, right? And yet we are the victimized community. This is the injection which she gives every day through her poisonous tweets and all. You know what she doesn't tell you? That such was the criminality and the arrogance drunk on power. The bipole seat of that very constituency of Allahabad West, which was his, which he used to win out of popularity as well out of fear, was something his brother fought on when this guy went to the member of parliament. That is the kind of criminals we have. Raju Pal, a candidate from BSP, Mayawati's party, defeated Ashraf, his brother. लेकिन गुस्ताखी बर्दाश्त नहीं हुई आतिक और उसके भाई को. They murdered Raju Pal because he defeated them in a democratic environment. And that was a brutal murder. That is just one of the many murders. But what Rana very clearly wants to tell to those young minds, what she wants to cater to the anti-national forces abroad, that no, you have to double down and you have to vociferously say, yeah, big deal, I'm going to back this because I'm going to make this about religion. And it seems at this stage very staged to me, killers coming, saying Jai Shri Ram. Even if they did, so what? Gangsters mein to ye gang war hota hai. You live by the gun, you die by the gun. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. But look at what people like her do. Her constituency sometimes deserves it and sometimes they don't. But surely we are not going to leave her unchallenged.
Yeah. I want to add something. I mean, when technically, because she's playing very technically here, because obviously nobody will going to support that under the police custody, such a thing should happen. And our state should be more, I don't know how to use it. Our state institutions should be more efficient. But that is an issue overall. That is not this issue. अगर हमारी state की जो institution है, वो प्रॉपर एफिशिएंट होती तो ये इस जैसे गुंडे हमारे पावर में नहीं होते, जिन्होंने इतने लोगों के साथ इतना कुछ किया है, लोगों की हत्याएं की है, रेप की है, मर्डर किए हैं. ये लोग not only they were in politics, they were enjoying all the kind of respect, Indian resources and everything. वो होता ही नहीं. तो there has been a constant need है पुलिस रिफॉर्म की, सिस्टम रिफॉर्म की, जो पहले से तो बेटर होता जा रहा है, क्योंकि बेहतर था तभी जैसे लोगों को जिनको की जेलों में सड़ना चाहिए था, ये जब एक एमपी बन गए, आज वो पुलिस कस्टडी में थे, तो मैं उसको थोड़ा बेटर पोजीशन पे देखूंगी कि पुलिस वर डूइंग द बेटर जॉब, बट थोड़ी और हमें बेटर करने की जरूरत है अपने सिस्टम को. तो ये एक जनरल चीज है जो हम सब इंडियन एक्सेप्ट करेंगे, बट द वे शी इज लाइक मेकिंग इट दिस पर्सनल थिंग, दैट वन एपिसोड के ऊपर पिन डाउन करना, उससे शो भी होता है कि कितने घटिया लोग हैं ये, and how they have been using the real cause, the human right cause or justice cause just for their own narrative, their career, or for the bigger political agenda. So that I wanted to add. अब चलते हैं, एक वीडियो देखते हैं हम. सो ये वीडियो है राजदीप सरदेसाई का. इन्होंने कुछ बोला था मुख्तार अंसारी, आई मीन उनके लिए, जो कि सेम कैटेगरी में आते हैं. तो मैं वीडियो प्ले करती हूँ और इस वीडियो के बाद खालिद प्लीज आप अपना बाइट दीजिए.
लेकिन 96 में उत्तर प्रदेश के चुनाव हो रहे थे और हमने सोचा कि एक सीरीज होनी चाहिए. इनमें से दो महाशय को मैं मिला. एक थे मुख्तार अंसारी, जो मुझे लगता है उस समय इंडिपेंडेंट लड़ रहे थे, और 96 में अतीक अहमद समाजवादी पार्टी से जुड़ गए थे. दोनों ने मुझे बहुत एक अच्छा डिनर खिलाया. जब भी आप उनसे मिलते हैं तो उनकी जो तस्वीर जो आपके मन में है और जो असलियत उनकी होती है बिल्कुल अलग है. बट वेरी गुड तंदूरी चिकन.
राइट. सो एक तो ये कहते हैं कि जब आप इनसे मिलते हैं ये आपको चाय पानी के लिए पूछते हैं. I mean, of course, I mean, these are not aliens, no? I mean, gangsters also drink tea. Hello. Yeah, they drink tea. And then he says ki tandoori chicken, acha banate. Again, a very, very stupid attempt at humanizing, right? And yeah, I mean, next they'll say that, Atiq was going to qualify for MasterChef Australia, but then, the evil Hindu majority didn't allow him to qualify for MasterChef Australia. And here, the great chefs took up his place and he would have been a great chef. And because he was denied that uska tandoori chicken डर गए, Sanjay Kapoor और सब, तो उनको फिर बोल दिया नहीं Atiq आप, and then he took up gangster wars, because फिर तुमने छोड़ा नहीं ना अतीक को कुछ करने के लिए फिर. So that's what. Yeah, but Atiq 160 criminal cases, hundreds of murders, abductions, but he cooks good tandoori chicken. All right.
This, I mean, for me, this is eye-opening because सरदेसाई के साथ मैं सुनती थी criticism and all, but मैं लेती थी कि चलो sometimes people have a tilted notion, like they have a more place for certain ideology, but ये देखने के बाद मालूम पड़ा है वो ideology सिर्फ एक ही है, personal profit. तो अगर गुंडे और टेररिस्ट भी इनका पर्सनल प्रॉफिट करें तो देयर लैंग्वेज विल चेंज इन सच अ फ्लावरी वे कि लगेगा ही नहीं कि वो मर्डरर हैं. क्या बात कर रहे हो भाई साहब आप. लाइक दिस हैज रियली चेंज अ लॉट इन माय हेड राइट नाउ. सो नेक्स्ट मैं एक स्टेटमेंट पढ़ना चाह रही हूँ जो डीजीपी ऑफ उत्तर प्रदेश है उनका स्टेटमेंट. Yeah. So he was like the sole leader of Muslim at the time and enjoyed a massive minority vote bank. This is why political parties and leaders would just let him enjoy his reign of terror. This went on to the extent that witnesses would turn hostile and cases against him wouldn't materialize. In fact, even when his involvement was alleged or suspected in multiple cases, his name just wouldn't feature in FIR. Singh said. So, Khalid, आपका क्या इस पे रिएक्शन है? आपको क्या लगता है ये पढ़ करके?
See, we are very quick when we see extremists within Hindus, we see gangsters, criminals amongst them, and then we say to the community, and खासकर हमारे community की आदत है to them कि self introspect करो, accountability लो, कैसे तुम इसको कर सकते हो. In this case, you're clearly saying that ultimately Atiq also somewhere is a symptom. And you need to take accountability that there was a considerable section of Muslim population within that constituency who was backing him. And that is the kind of society and fabric that was getting made there, right? And people wouldn't turn up because, witnesses turn hostile. Who wants to die, right? If he's seen him also murdering someone, police won't take it up because police is also under him, right? So it's an absolute cancerous society, lawlessness, which was there, in UP. So this should be a place where you should say, yeah, even we have sections of populists who have this kind of thinking, who are so tribalistic that they're ready to go for a guy like it. But we wouldn't want this kind of society. And that also shows why he's always been quoted by parties. First, quoted by Samajwadi Party, on whose ticket he not only won, but went to the temple of our democracy, member of parliament, 5 years. Can you imagine such a dreaded gangster, right? And then Owaisi Sahab, Mazloom Musalmano ke hero, self-appointed Masiha, offers tickets, Also परसों कुछ बोला था जब प्यार किया तो डरना क्या. This is the kind of role models he wants for the community. And then in the same time, he wants the victimhood title also. And then he'll wonder why the community will go on a self-destructive path and why there'll be a confrontational attitude with the majority community. I don't think so. You need to get defensive or apologetic. You say, yeah, there is an issue. And the DGP has said it as clear as the former DGP that what it was. So, like I always say, people say, "Arey, hum to achhi society hai, politicians nahi hote." I completely disagree with that. That's a very escapist and a very, very apologetic view. The politician is the absolute true representative of your society. That one man shows what your society is, wherever that politician in a democracy is, because he represents your biases, he represents your convictions, he represents your worldview. You cannot map 50 crore Indians who vote. You can map those 520. That's why when we have criminal cases ka politicians across the spectrum, across political parties, you understand, as Abhijit says, sometimes why sections of our society is third world, backward. And that is across communities. And if the community was so suppressed, then they wouldn't have a gangster who would put terror in the hearts of people in mind, and whose brother would kill another, person because he beat him in an election and this guy could not tolerate it.
Okay, I don't agree 100%, but okay. Okay. There are certain things like I am very generous when come to the ordinary people to judge them, because I don't see the ordinary people having the same intellect or having the same privilege to think in a certain way. I think that they have a very ordinary life and they have so many other things to worry about. So yes, they have a biases, immediate interest, their selfishness, and a very small worldview to think about certain things. And even many a time they just take the call based on whatever the lead they look up to them. If they see someone who is going to save their interests, they're not going to be very critical of that person. Maybe he's saving your interests because he has more selfish motives behind it, but the ordinary person won't be able to cheaper that, and they will just listen to them and then they will vote. So that's why when you work with the normal people, and that's why politician and the reformer always goes against each other, because the same nature politician exploits and the reformer wants to reform, because they see that, yeah, these people have their mindset is their problem, but then you can't hate them and keep being very critical of them, because ultimately you want to change them for their better self. So like I have these nuances and I always want to keep that in mind. Otherwise sometime I feel like I don't want to be end up hating people kind of thing. So अच्छा, इसके बाद जो नया ट्वीट आई एम गोइंग टू रीड, ये है हमारे इंटरनेशनल राइचियस पीपल, जिन्होंने अभी एक डॉक्यूमेंट्री भी बनाया था और बताया था कि हिंदुस्तान में किस तरह से मतलब माइनॉरिटी के साथ किस तरह से भेदभाव हो रहा है। अब तो जीने के लायक ही नहीं बचा हिंदुस्तान। बेचारे जो मुस्लिम है क्रिश्चियन है, वो कहाँ जाएंगे पता नहीं। इनके इनकी जो जर्नलिस्ट है गीता पांडे बीबीसी, तो गीता पांडे जो कि बीबीसी की जर्नलिस्ट है, उन्होंने क्या ट्वीट किया है। अतीक अहमद was Robinhood, a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of character who helped poor people, paying for weddings and school uniform, gave money during Eid, but this persona unraveled this mounting accusation of heinous crime, my report.
Right. इनका नाम क्या है?
इनका नाम है गीता पांडे बीबीसी।
राइट तो अगर आप गीता पांडे के प्रीवियस ट्वीट्स देखेंगे, वो इरोटिका काफी लिखती है। तो किस लाइन में आ गए गीता आप, भाई साहब किस लाइन में आ गए आप? तो पहले तो वो मैं कहना चाहता हूँ। दूसरा, मुझे लगता है बीबीसी को इमीडिएटली एज सून एज पॉसिबल आफ्टर सीइंग आवर शो शुड इमीडिएटली लॉबी टू गेट अ नोबेल पीस प्राइज फॉर अतीक, posthumous of course, and speak about the life and times, his struggles, how he took from the rich, took from the poor, took from everyone, kept it for himself, and how he was wronged by society. And I'm sure Britain would love such a character, because who else but their ancestors, they know a lot about plundering and looting from people and then benefiting themselves. So BBC should do this Nobel Peace Prize. We will try obviously lobbying for Bharat Ratna as well. And I think that's a great thing this lady has said. We surely please get in touch with us. Let's start an online petition movement and speak about the great things Atiq did.
Last and most important tweet, I think is the most important tweet of this series जो मैं पढ़ने जा रही हूँ, वो है साकिब सलीम का। साकिब सलीम ने PhD की है हिस्ट्री में, so he's an academic and the awards के लिए वो जर्नलिस्ट एज जर्नलिस्ट काम करते हैं। so उन्होंने ये बहुत important tweet किया है। It's interesting that of all the media stories on life of Atiq and Ashraf, nobody is talking about gang rape of madrasa girls in 2007. People believe that poor minor Muslim madrasa girls were gang raped by the Ashraf and his men. After that, Muslim boycotted Mulayam and helped Mayawati win in 2007. So that was a big shift also. And in the subsequent tweet, he also said that there are so many such rape cases against the duo, and most of them are committed against the Muslims. So
it reminds me of your conversation, Amana. You were speaking about Muslim criminals, and you had said in one of the podcasts that the first victim of the community of such gangsters are the community members, because initially they kill all those who remotely dissent against them, who want to lead a good normal life of every average day citizen in India and just want to get on with their lives. This is such a tragic incident that where what I understood from what I read is that the accusation against Atiq's men was that They went late night into a madrasa, beat up the watchman, picked up 2 minor girls from the madrasa. They were later brutally raped, and they were threatened that if you tell this to someone, we will, kill you. And sadly, things went so bad that for 1 or 2 days, police also did not want to file an FIR. Such was the fear and such was the power over the police, because police gangsterate was just one solid mechanism. It was something like how we've seen Vastav, or people who've seen Vastav and Sanjay Dutt's character, who's a dreaded gangster, but he has political patronage. So he gets away with every murder till he is useful to that, politician. And these are girls, these are Muslim girls, and also it also shows you that whereas there is a section of people who would have been backing him as dreaded gangster within the community, there were those also who, out of fear or not wanting to get into all this messy world where he would just kill at the whim, defeated them, and then obviously that was also their slow rebellion. That is where democracy is a powerful tool with all its flaws, and brought in BSP. Right, and this should have been the story which credit to Saqib, who brought this out. He was a journalist for Awaz and who brought this out, and that just goes on to show that there are so many layers to all this, right? And how such people are not good for even their family. I saw a video, Amna, where his 8 or 9-year-old son Asad, who got killed before him, he is teaching him how to birthday party mein usko bahut bada birthday party usne throw ki. Obviously that time he was being quoted by everyone and anyone, he had all the power, and he's telling him to use the gun. At the end of the day, Asad, his own son, is also a victim of his own gangster father, his family, then the community, then the other community, then the nation, right? So it is such a tragedy. And I don't know whether those girls today see that as a sort of some divine justice, that this happened. But yeah, I would also in the same way say that this would appear weird because we are ideological opponents of Sabha and Rana, that when it comes to questioning the state and state being more efficient, I agree. But it's a different thing that the agenda they're trying to do out of it, victimize this man, humanize him, put him as any ordinary Indian citizen, then interpolate and tell 20 crore Indian citizens, this is who you are Atiq, and this is what's happening to you. That's wrong. Yes, Yogi Adityanath in the past has come out as an able administrator. Clearly, the state has had a failure in this case. And as conscious citizens, one wishes there are more judicial reforms, more police reforms in this matter. Judicial is different. And, such slip-ups don't happen, especially when you're dealing with a high-profile gangster criminal or dealing with a Robinhood, according to BBC, and dealing with victim of Owaisi, victim for Owaisi and this. So on that front, I agree. It's a slip-up. You don't need to get hyper-nationalistic or defensive about it. You can talk both the truths in the same way. A dreaded gangster killed fellow gangsters, killed innocents, part of the political patronage, part of everything. He had immense power. Everyone who's hammam mein sab nange hain, depending on degrees. But yeah, it's not an interpolation with India. That was a failure. The state needs to do better, and that's what we've always been calling for: state reforms, police reforms, and such a thing should not have happened. Rest, don't listen to likes of Sabha, Arfa, and others who are trying to victimize you, provoke you, because they understand only one thing: being in power and being out of power. And so Atiq was no victim.
Exactly, and making everything about Muslim being victim, even when we were talking about those goons of Muslim who actually victimize their own community and poor people within the community. So that kind of narrative they play. And also I want to add here ki when I was reading about those madrasas girls, and I was thinking about, where is the movie like Article 13? Where is the movie like, there would be one incident and you see how all those righteous leftist activists, even a section of the Bollywood who believe that they are doing great service for the human right or the society, they will create a movie exaggerating stuff. And where are the movie on people like Atiq Ahmad? No. In fact, there would be possibility that they will create a movie where Atiq Ahmad and Ashraf would be victim of the system, and some way tilted, version of it. So that's something very, very sad thing to watch. And if I would have been like a leftist or a lot of people, so I would have celebrated this death, because as a human I don't feel any empathy. Even as a human I can feel those victims of these two men might be feeling right now relief, because उनको भी उम्मीद नहीं रही होगी कि हमें कोई जस्टिस कभी मिलेगा, इतने पावरफुल लोगों से तो कभी नहीं मिलेगा. दिस इज सिस्टम का जो हमारा फेलियर हो रहा है. दिस इज दैट इज द रियल फेलियर. In fact, that is the far bigger failure than this police thing, because West में भी होता है. Many a time police are not able to be very efficient. Many a time even police kill the black men. ये भी cases हुए हैं. So we all, it's not like nobody will go or any system is a perfect. तो वो remember जब लिंचिंग हुआ था साधुओं का, वहां पुलिस खड़ी थी. यहाँ पे महाराष्ट्र के पास जो साधुओं का
पालघर में
एग्जैक्टली. तो ये फ्लॉज रहते हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कि हाँ सिर्फ इंडियन पुलिस ही फेल हो रही है या किसी स्पेसिफिक जगह पे फेल हो रही है, राइट. लेकिन जो सबसे बड़ा फेलियर है वो है जब इस तरह के विक्टिम, इस तरह के जो बाहुबली हैं, उससे जस्टिस नहीं ले पाते हैं. तो हाँ है डिवाइन जस्टिस वहां पे. एंड द फेलियर उसके बाद जब मैं इन लेफ्टिस्ट को देखती हूँ तो फिर मुझे लगता है कि इवन दो आई हैव सो मेनी कंप्लेन फ्रॉम द राइट एंड आई कीप I'm being very vocal, I would say I do have a far more respect for the right now in the India than the left. When I see these realities, still they would accept ki this is it's still a problem, we won't accept it, it would have been better if we would go through this proper system. So you will see still that no, there is something very rotten when we talk about the left. They have lost it. There is no humanity left in them. There is only and only their side tribalism. That's it. Did Jubair do any fact check tweet कि अतीक अहमद ने और इन्होंने किया था रेप या नहीं किया था?
वो तो रो रहा था. किसी ने मीम बनाया था, उसने यूपी पुलिस को टैग कर दिया कि देखो एक तो मैं ऑलरेडी मातम बना रहा हूँ मेरे अतीक के अगेंस्ट, तो अभी मीम बना दिया.
So then yeah, I think these kind of stand when they take, it also gives you a clarity that in the end they are, I mean, maybe I'm being very harsh after going through it, but they are the extended version or intellectual version of terrorist, or this kind of gangster. Sometimes right people keep calling them, and I feel no, we should not be that harsh. But when you see this kind of justification, you really feel like that. So I think इसी के साथ हम अपना आज का प्रोग्राम खत्म करते हैं. And I hope people watch it with all the honesty, all the rationality, instead of being blinded by this social media का जो, I don't know what word I should use, को ना देख करके they go by the fact, they see the reality, and honestly इसके ऊपर अपना एक judgment बनाए. You want to say something as a ending remark, Khalid?
Yeah, I would just say, आप कह रही थी ना अगर मूवी बने कि इनके मैन ने क्या किया उन पुअर इनोसेंट गर्ल्स से जो एक मदरसे में पढ़ रही थी, अनाथ भी होंगे कुछ, तो टाइप्स ऑफ राना विल टेल यू कि तुम अटैक कर रही हो ये दिखा के, तुम दिखाना चाहती हो कि देखो सारे मुस्लिम्स क्या कर, they operate like a mafia. They like, तुम अगर ऐसा कह रही हो, तुम अगर अतीक के अगेंस्ट कह रही हो तो फिर भी मुसलमानों की कभी जरूरत, उसके विक्टिम्स के अगेंस्ट कह रही हो तो फिर भी तुम दिखा रहे हो कि देखो ये कैसे होते हैं सब.
Exactly.
हेलो,
इसी के साथ नमस्ते.